strive for obedience. I strive for obedience. And when I accepted Christ and made that decision for myself, and began to study deeply, one of the things that I personally came to was a sense of personal accountability to God.
Someone fetch me my apron. I feel good. I feel good.
Can you give some of the folks that's here how this wonderful amalgamation of creativity and talent and mental engineering came about?
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to. I'm gonna take it back, but I'm not gonna bore us because I want to keep this thing, nice and moving and flowing. What I will say is that the story of Life or Death, and I'll talk about it in terms of its story. The story of Life or Death came about after my viewing and taking in and breaking down and really digesting The Wire. The Wire HBO series. Absolutely brilliant series. And many people will put The Wire as a television series up against anything ever produced in terms of television. And it's in many people's top 5, in terms of television series. It's in many people's top 3, maybe even a few people's number 1 show ever produced. And it is that good.
Yeah.
And in The Wire, it as you've seen it, the elements of The Wire deal with what's happened out here in these streets. And it has some really, really profound and unique and truthful stories, to be honest with you, many of them about what's going on in the streets. Well, that had an impact on me because one of the things that I saw was missing, that didn't ring quite true, is a certain element of spirituality. Meaning, characters in The Wire, we all know if we Black and we live in this country, if our parents aren't necessarily, aren't spiritual, be that Muslim, Christian, whatever religion that they follow, then we know somebody in our family, many people. And the further back in our generations we go, the more we know, and so that was absent in The Wire. Largely, we had one character who had a grandmother who went to church, but you know what I'm talking about.
Omar's granny, the church crowd. Go ahead, my bad. That was a crazy episode.
And that was pretty much it that you saw in terms of, so that was something that was layers distant from the story. And so for me, that had the effect of characterizing us as a people in an inaccurate way, and in some ways subhuman or inhuman in some ways. And I don't know if that was necessarily the intent, but them street cats, it just was a layer that was absent. So me being who I am and me wanting to always chase truth in drama, part of the reason why I became a filmmaker is because I wanted to tell stories, narratives that resonate with people due to truth. They find something truthful in it, and then hopefully inspire people with it. And that was the beginning. That was the inspiration to say, hey, I want to write something like The Wire that reaches out to our people, our young brothers that are on the streets, but do it in a way that's a little bit more that is a little bit more well-rounded, and then do it with a purpose as well. Not just tell a story about them, but let's add some purpose to the storytelling. So that was the brainchild.
That's funny. On our show called The Nighthawks, what we do is one of the main things, and one of the younger members, it was me and 2 young G's that are on the show. One of them is the 100 Watts, Finesse Visions, and the other is Victor Freeze Music. And Victor, one of the things early on in the game is he asked me, he's like, yo, G, we talk a lot and we philosophers in the way we move. I want to make sure that we have action steps so we're not just sitting here smoking and talking in the clouds. So in terms of the action steps of what this project is and how it came about, I want you to tell me, because obviously, I understand you're a Christian, right?
Yeah,
but
that's right.
Without question, I am too. I'm literally the grandson of two, majorly known and pivotal, Haitian Pentecostal reverends. One of them was the minister of the ports of Haiti, and the other one was known to perform exorcisms. Yeah. Get what I'm saying? And they both respected each other. They were literally like W.E.B. Du Bois or Dubois and Booker T. Washington of religion in Haiti, but they both had the ultimate respect. And literally, that's why one of their sons was able to marry one of their daughters. So I want you to tell me about the creature that created the craft, because this is a craft. I understand the project. The folks in the audience, may not fully understand what's going on, but bro, you are a special individual.
Thank you.
I want to know about what kind of things stirred your mind. We on this channel, we allow the brothers to get vulnerable, and it's a safe place for that. Like, I know you talked about The Wire, but there was something else. There was something else that kind of made this thing real for you. Sometimes the greatest things come out of pleasure, but sometimes even greater things come out of a pain or a longing or a loss. So, if you feel comfortable, talk to me about the feelings that kind of brought you to creating something as great as this.
Well, I can I'll definitely be very transparent and truthful. That for me, what's important is I do strive for obedience. I strive for obedience. And when I accepted Christ and made that decision for myself, and began to study deeply, one of the things that I personally came to was a sense of personal accountability to God, and seeking and striving to basically do what He says. Obedience. There's an old Hebrew word that's used in the Bible a whole lot, hupakoe, Hupakoe, hupakoe. And it means, every time it's used in the Old Testament, it means to hear and obey, to hearken, to hear and obey. And it's the two things together. And it's used in the way that you might, a child hears a parent. When I tell you to do something, you talk to your child and you just give them something to do, and you say, "Hear me." It's they respond back, "Yes, sir," or they're letting you know, because when they hear you, you expect obedience, and it's instant as soon as they hear. And so for me, that concept runs really, really deep for me, where I just want to be accountable, and I want to do what is pleasing in the eyes of my Heavenly Father. So what that means for me is I've been given a talent, and it was given by Him, and really this direction by Him also, to tell stories. Like, for me, there's power in the way that I tell stories coming from Him, and it's much more powerful for me to tell a lesson in the way that I tell stories, visual storytelling, than me talking. Other people, their power is in, telling stories verbally or some other things. For me, God gave me the talent to be able to do this, and I have to answer to that. And so for me, I'm always looking for a way to use what I have in some way to influence or inspire people in a way that's pleasing to my Heavenly Father. So for me, that nugget is obedience. I can never just do something that is just of the world, tell a story. I'll never be able to get out here and just do a Batman or a Marvel movie or some movie that does not in some way, shape, or form at least lay a seed and point people into the direction of the truth of Christ and the truth of God. So that's that side of it.
Someone fetch me my apron. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Someone